Hi, welcome to SBR TV. This is our football openers show that we do every Monday with SBR contributor John Ryan from johnryansports.com. College football is opener. The Bulls are coming up later, so we'll do a separate openers show with someone for that. But right now we're going to take a look at the NFL openers for Week 14. John, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Peter. How about you?
John, the first thing I want to ask you about is, last week I told you that I'm a little bit worried about you. I think you have a gambling problem when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. And on our experts roundtable, you said that you loved them last week. They wound up losing outright again. So how'd you do last week overall in your thread?
Well, I thought about that addiction, and I did go counter to what I said in the video on the thread. I actually did not put Dallas out there. The thread actually went 3-1.
3-1?
3-1 Sunday.
Really?
Yep, 3-1 Sunday because I did not take Dallas.
Right. All right, that's good. Friends look out for friends. You know what I mean?
I appreciate it, Peter.
Yeah. Like if I think you have a gambling problem on another team, I'm not going to ignore it. I'm going to be honest with you. And you might hate me for it at first, but in the long run, you'll be thankful. So 3-1. So what are you now? You're like well into the 60% overall in the year, right?
We are banging 60% right in the nose right now.
And are all the guys in the thread happy that you gave them a 3-1 week?
They were extremely happy. We actually have my third 20-star going tonight.
Right. Okay. Really? On what?
Yeah, it's a pretty big play. It doesn't get too much stronger than this. It is on the over.
Okay. All right. So let's look at the openers. First, let's talk about the Chicago-Denver game. Now, Denver, of course, they've won and covered 5 games in a row, but all of those games, they've been an underdog. Now, for the first time with Tebow, they're a favorite, -3.5 at home against Chicago. Now, I've been loving to leaning heavily towards Denver every game so far that Tebow started where they've been an underdog. But if they start to become a favorite, I'm going to start looking to bet against them. I'm not sure if I would bet against them here, though, because Chicago is just in such a bad state right now, losing Matt Forte, and, Denver's such a tough place to play on the road. What do you think is going to happen to this line? Do you think it's going to creep up, stay where it is, or go down to 3?
I think it's going to creep up to 4, Peter. I don't think it's going to go much more than that because I still don't think the public has really bought into this Tebow thing.
No?
And, it seems obvious to me, and I heard a defensive coordinator talking about it on a radio show this morning, that the defenses, when they play Denver, they don't know how to prepare for him. It's easy to prepare for read option type offenses like they ran at Florida, but now you're seeing Tebow throwing the ball more than 20 times. And he's completing a high percentage of them. So, those plays start out read option, but then when he takes those 3 steps back, the hearts of a defensive coordinator goes right out through their rear end, and you see what happens.
But wouldn't you say that if I start to be a favorite, you'd start to want to bet against them?
They're not blowing out anybody yet.
Right.
Do you think I think that's the key word. What I see happening is whether you like Tebow or not, his will, for lack of a better word, is rubbing off on the defense.
Sure.
And I think every single week that defense now knows that, Tebow's the guy that can win this game for us in the last minute. And they literally play their asses off for him, and they're playing harder and harder with each week.
All right, well, we'll see where this line does go. Then there's a bunch of big favorite lines. The Ravens 16-point favorites over the Colts. The Packers 11-point favorites over Oakland, and the Jets 9-point favorites over the Chiefs, and the Pats 9-point road favorites over the Redskins. Don't those lines all strike you as maybe a little bit too high?
Some of them do, some of them don't. I think the New England game, clearly they got out to a 31-3 lead, and they just kind of let up off the gas. And the New England game this week against Washington is a little different game. I wouldn't be surprised to see that drift down towards 7 or 7.5. Washington did lose to the Jets, but that was a game that was very close in the fourth quarter.
Right.
The Green Bay game at 11, I think you're going to see Oakland money come in on that. I wouldn't be surprised to see that drift down to 10, 10.5. Again, I mean, how do you put a line on the Colts?
Yeah.
It's got to be up there. For anybody who plays them, it's got to be double digits.
Right. All right, and then there's a bunch of other very competitively lined games, all with spreads around 3 or 3.5. Are there any of those lines that you think might move significantly by game time?
I think the 49ers, that one kind of surprised me. And, as you know, I stayed off of Dallas, thank goodness.
Yep.
And they played Arizona, who played very well. Kevin Cobb is a very good quarterback. I got the chance to see him play a few times in Philadelphia. And, he's vastly underrated, and I think he needed this year to kind of get accustomed to starting every single week, and now it's starting to pay off. I mean, clearly that was a huge game for his development, beating the Cowboys, even though the Cowboys kind of blew it there with their time management. But nonetheless, they won the game. And now they go against San Francisco, who is a similar style team. San Francisco is more of a traditional, bash your mouth, run the ball, play solid defense, and win the game. But it is the type of team that Arizona could be very competitive with.
Mm-hmm.
So that one I'm going to be interested to see what happens. I think that line will climb, though, to 4.5 because San Francisco is clearly the better team.
Mm-hmm. All right. Are those the only lines that you think are interesting?
Well, the Giants in Dallas, that's the big game of the week, I think, in my opinion. That is for first place in the East now.
Mm-hmm.
If Dallas wins, that opens up a gap again. I think this line will go to 3.5 or 4. I'm currently seeing at 3 with a lot of juice.
All right. Well, we'll see how these lines do move. And good luck once again this week. We'll talk to you next week, John.